Morning, troops. Thank you very much for joining us on our Sunday TNT. Now, I thought today we'd do the lounge version. Gee, I'm starting with a raspy throat already. That's not a good start. So, hope you've had a great sleep overnight. It might be Saturday night where you are at the moment, and that's okay too. So grab something that's going to keep you going for the next hour. It might be a cup of coffee, cup of tea. It could be something stronger. In my case, it could even be a glass of water. But we've got quite a few issues to get through. And I suppose we should start by saying hello to all the people in the live stream. And, oh, God, I'm watching the stream as all the ads come up, and it's funny for me, the ads that come up for me. Of course, the ads that come up from YouTube for you are just basically contextual to your searches, and just shows you how different the whole net experience can be for everybody. A question from Scott D. Morning, Scott, which is quite interesting about all the cars I've had. I've made a bit of a list for you, so I'll go through those a little bit later. Hello to Frank in Thailand, and Frank's filling up the comment section already. Indian Dang, thank you very much for your correction. I spelt the word skirmishes wrong, and I've attended to that. And about the use of the word Burma versus Burmese, the Burmese themselves, they actually still use the word Burmese as the adjective when referring to anything. So it could be Burmese troops or the Burmese border. And they describe themselves as Burmese, even though the country has been known as Myanmar since I think about the 1970s. So, the Thai Public Health Minister says it's impossible to legalise e-cigarettes, and he promises further crackdown. So a lot of people out there who are looking forward to perhaps vaping and e-cigarettes and the import of those liquids being legal, it doesn't look like it's going to happen anytime soon. The Thai Public Health Minister, Anatin Charnvirakul, has reiterated his stance on banning all forms of e-cigarettes, including selling and importing the products into the country. And some surveys done last year show that more than half of about 80,000 e-cigarette smokers in Thailand were teenagers and young adults aged between 15 and 24. I think we'd all recognise that that's probably not a good trend. Moreover, the minister went on to say that currently there are political efforts, even within the cabinet, to push for an amendment of the laws to legalise vaping. In response to these calls, Anatin said the Public Health Ministry will not comply, stating that it's impossible. Well, I think if the cabinet decide otherwise in a vote, then he'd be overruled on that. But he continued to say he's ready to take action to put an end to the legal loopholes that enable people to sell and import e-cigarettes into the kingdom, hinting that his ministry is working on a regulation that will prohibit the sale of all types of vaping devices. He says, although it's easy to buy, I think it's a lot easier if I just pick this up, although it's easier, it's going to be one of those days, although it's easier to buy e-cigarettes nowadays, people can still cannot buy them from convenience stores, which means the current laws are still respected to some extent. And 4 suspects in police custody over multiple murders in Narathiwat. Oh, that's another story. So, yes, I'm thinking of 18 million things at once, but there you go. It's an interesting situation with the e-cigarettes. It looks like the Public Health Minister is just hell-bent on trying to keep e-cigarettes, vaping illegal in Thailand, given that you see people walking around all the time. If you go into any offices, there's people vaping away. People go to shisha bars where people... Well, it's a different type of vaping, but it's vaping nonetheless. And so the police do these crackdowns from time to time. We'll probably see more of them as they try and show a bit of an effort to enforce the current vaping laws. And it looks like there's going to be no change to that in the future. Yes, down south, this is a follow-up to a story we did during the week. And 4 suspects are now in police custody over multiple murders in Narathiwat, and police in Thailand's southern province are holding 4 suspects in custody for questioning in connection with the deaths of 4 men, 3 of whom were found in the trunk of a half-submerged sedan in a pond. Police say that one of the suspects has a previous record for drug trafficking and has spent time in prison. and divers rescued the bodies and retrieved the fourth body as well from that pond in Narati Wat. Just going through some of the main stories around today. This one is quite important. Border security has been boosted as fighting erupts in Myanmar, and a clash breaks out just across from the Sangla-Buri border area after anti-coup rebels storm into a police station to free colleagues, and just that map showing you where it is. And so it's just up there in the north part of Kanchanaburi province, right in the very, very west of Thailand on the Burmese border. It's about a 4-hour drive from Bangkok if you're ever heading up in that particular direction. And Burmese troops have clashed with unknown forces for more than 1 hour. People on the Thai side of the border heard the sound of gunfire around 6:30 a.m. yesterday. Thick smoke and flames billowing over Myanmar's Payatongzu, township, which is opposite the Prachedai Samong village, and that's near the 5 Pagodas Pass. And it was initially believed the fire gutted places where the district office and the police station in Payatongzu. They're about 200 metres away from the 3, not 5 pagodas, the 3 Pagodas Pass in Sangla-Buri, and soldiers have been told to be on full alert along the border. People were not allowed to pass through the security checkpoint, and it's thought that it's the People's Defence Force that have raided the Payatongzu police station to rescue their colleagues, and rebel forces have cut off electricity and set fire on a car parked, and that's just a great photo there at the Thai border with Myanmar. And I suppose it just goes to show that this conflict is still far from over in Myanmar, and it's certainly not a safe place to travel at the moment. Although there are people popping across the border now, the borders have been recently reopened. An interesting situation that, in fact, the rebel forces decided to attack that town so close to the Thai border. I'm sure that it's trying to bring attention to their plight, and of course the media have complied and covered that story down there at the 3 Pagodas Pass, which is one of the most commonly used checkpoints between Myanmar and Thailand. I'll go to some other stories a little bit later, but let's go to your comments, see if you've got something to say. I've got about 5 streams happening here at the moment, and I'm not exactly sure what I'm doing, but this is the lounge version of TNT today. Sitting on the lounge you usually see in the back of the picture. Well, now we've got it right up front. Now, I can actually get rid of that, and I can say pop out chat, and I've done that now, and there it is, and I can move me 10-second delay over to there. Okay, let's go through your comments and questions. And Scott D, I'll get to your question about all the cars I've had over the years. Sure, many of you will laugh. Is Tim in bed? No, Tim is not in bed. Maybe it looks like I'm wearing my pajamas, but no, this is just a t-shirt. This is my lounge. I have slept on it many times, and there would be a lot more times than I've been watching a Netflix movie and just fallen asleep and found myself still here at 3 a.m. in the morning. Roman, good morning to you. Nacho Daddy. Scott D, Tim is stellar with grammar, no joke. Oh, I'm okay with grammar, but I'm not fantastic, but I'm better than many, I think. Hi from Hong Kong, says Chrissy. Great to have you with us, Chrissy. Thanks for joining in the stream. And Dana says hello from Dana and Molly. Hello to you both. I'm not sure where you are, but great to have you with us as well. The Insult Investor, yo, yo, yo. I think that means hello in some odd American dialects, but thank you very much. And Chris Macon says, good morning, my final day in Siem Reap for a few months. Hope you're having a lovely morning, Tim and all. That's a nice part of the world right there in the middle of Cambodia, and the step-off point for Angkor Wat and many of the other temple tours around central Cambodia. I hope you're having a great time there. Do you live there? Tell us a bit about the cost of living, what you do during the day, if you work or just enjoying the quiet life there. Wayne Baston says, morning, one and all. And what else? Just trying to find a few questions here. We've got Sid Hills. Good morning from a windy Bangsaray. It's quite windy here in Phuket this morning as well. Strong easterly winds up to about 25 kilometres an hour. But then again, it doesn't ever really get much stronger than that. So I don't suppose it's a bad thing. So, fairly windy in Phuket this morning. I think a top temperature of 32 degrees. Tomorrow they're expecting 33, so it is just starting to creep up as we head into a hot couple of months leading up to Songkran. Okay, now we had the question from Scott D earlier, and Scott says, you mentioned you've wasted so much money on cars throughout the years. Your eyes rolled back as you said that. What make and models did you used to drive? What made you so passionate about electric cars? Yes, I am very passionate about electric cars. I think I've always been passionate about new technology. I've never been sort of a huge fan, or that's one car I should add, of sort of huge thumping V8 engines. Having said that, I have had one car with a huge thumping V8 engine, and I did love it very, very much. So here's the list of cars I've had in my life, and there are others I just cannot remember. But I've had a Suzuki four-wheel drive, had a Mazda 323, and this is back in the 80s, I suppose, a Holden Chimera, which was a shit heap. It was a horrible car. A Holden, by the way, was the Australian brand for General Motors. Ford Falcon, which was a six-cylinder sort of family car. A Fiat X19, and I'm going through a bit of a midlife crisis, you can tell here. A Fiat X19 is a little two-seater Italian sports car. A Lotus Esprit 1987, which was the old very angular shape. Think The Spy Who Loved Me and the car that went underwater. That was the Lotus Esprit. So I had a 1987 version, which was turbo, and that used to go like shit off a shovel. The Lotus Esprit 1994, I had it in bright red, and that was the Peter Stevens sort of makeover of the car. That was a beautiful car to drive, and I had many, many great sessions with that. And I had a Honda Prelude, and this is another phase, a Honda Accord, a Honda Jazz, now I'm in Phuket, and a Honda HR-V, which I still have, and I'm waiting for a BYD Atto 3 in metallic red to come through. But I've recently also driven an MG4, MG now owned by the Chinese, and that really surprised me. That was a full electric car, as is the Atto 3, and they both are really outstanding cars, and I've been very impressed by the way they drive. And also, these are both, in both cases, they're sort of the new, what would you call it, the next generation of batteries. And I think they've overcome a lot of the earlier problem with batteries. And I think battery technology will continue to improve, such that I thought that both were really good cars and worth me having a look at. So I'm waiting for one, a little bit tempted by the other at the moment, but I think I'll stick with my Atto 3 when it arrives. Now the other car, and I have to say one of my favourite cars that I had, was a Range Rover. Now it wasn't a new Range Rover, it was about 10 years old at the time. It was the sort of the three-door Range Rover. I think it was from about 1979. And it used to roll around the road, going around corners and back. You could go over any number of dead bodies you wouldn't even know. Had this really rubbery suspension, and it had a gearbox like from a truck, and these huge, almost truck tyres, and this great sounding V8 engine. It was the most beautiful car to drive. You could just like put your arm on the windowsill, grab the steering wheel and just go anywhere. It was very comfortable. I loved the Range Rover. I can't actually remember why I got it. I think I was towing boats at the time. I sort of needed the power of the V8 to drag things around. But that was a beautiful car. I'd get another Range Rover anytime. I'm not sure how they'd go in the hot, humid weather here. They're sort of made for the cool climates of the UK. Anyway, I hope that sort of answers your question, Scott. And I do my best to answer the questions as faithfully and as honestly as I can. Little Boots, question, when will the national election date be confirmed? How will it affect public services such as train travel? So at the moment, the hot tip, and it's actually been announced by the Thai Prime Minister, sort of as a provisional date until they actually dissolve the Parliament, but it looks like the next national election will be on May the 7th, and I don't think it'll affect the public services at all. I don't think anybody will notice. Until election day, there could be some people hanging around certain polling booths, but otherwise, no, May the 7th will be the next election, and it will be very interesting to see what unfolds. There are very many permutations as to how the numbers could fall after the next election, and I think whatever happens, we'll all be surprised. That's my hot tip. Getting down the stream, and it's great to have you with us, by the way. A fantastic, very sunny Sunday morning, a little bit of high cloud and quite windy here, but hopefully it's good where you are in the world as well. We do this twice on the weekend. We get together, and it's an hour between you and me, and I'm here to answer any questions if I can. I don't know everything, but I know some things. I've made quite a few mistakes, and I've learnt by my experience, so if I can pass any of that on for you in relation to living in Thailand, then I'm happy to do so. Fried Chicken says, hey mate, so I'm thinking you might come from Australia. Sawadee, everyone says, Nongwu So, thank you for joining us. Alpha Bravo, good morning boys and girls. Hello from South Carolina. So let's just go back and see if there's any other comments about things we've talked about. You like talking about your own things, not necessarily the topics I'm bringing up. Travelodium, Travel Magazine. Burmese is the plural of Burma, which is only one of the 8 ethnicities in Myanmar. The name was changed as a measure to better describe all the country's ethnicities. Burmese is the plural of Burma. And I think Burmese is the adjective of Burma. So you've got Burmese border, Burmese food, Burmese people. So, yes, I'm not sure if there's a plural of... The plural of Burma would be Burmas, and that would mean there was multiple numbers of them. And as far as I know, there was only one. But as I said, it had its name changed when they kicked the British out of there. Are people still getting retirement visas? Does it take 2 months, 3? How many? This is a question from Sarji. Look, good question. If you are applying for a new visa at the moment, there are delays. Now, the delays are very much going to depend on which part of the country you're in, which particular office you go to, whether or not you're using a visa agent. Visa agents will typically be able to accelerate these situations. If you have a particular deadline, then you probably really need to use a visa agent to make sure that can be pushed through. It'll probably cost you too. But yeah, I would say that there are delays. It took me up to about 2 months to get my latest B visa with a work permit. So yeah, just be aware that there are delays on getting new long stay visas at the moment in Thailand. Not sure if that's the same when it comes to the elite visas, which you sort of pay good money for. I think they are much quicker to process, and there's been a very big demand on those in recent months as well. So yeah, I would say that there are delays, but it's very much dependent on which part of the country you're applying and which immigration office you go into. Okay, good morning, Tim, from a windy bank. Sorry, we've done that one. Okay, buy an air purifier, Ben suggests to Frank in Thailand. Chris Macon, good morning from a final day in Siem Reap. I've done that one as well. So I think we can probably get onto a few new topics. Looks like everybody's just stopped talking. That's fine. I'll fill in the gap. So let's go to our next story, and this sort of goes under the heading of, I suppose I could describe, odd or strange headlines. Let's have a little look at this. And this is from the Straits Times, and it says that Indian youth's attack on girlfriend's ex-lover exposes his public servant dad's unexplained wealth. Now, look, I had to take my shoes and socks off for this one. I had to get the whiteboard out and do a Venn diagram to try and describe what's going on here. Indonesian youth's attack on girlfriend's ex-lover exposes his public servant's dad's unexplained wealth. So is it the public servant dad, the dad of the ex-lover, or the Indonesian youth? So apart from the headline being extremely complicated, it actually is a little bit ambiguous as well. So let's actually go, it's not a particularly interesting story, it's not relevant to us, but it does at least explain it. A viral video of a 20-year-old beating a teenage boy into a coma, obviously a serious assault, on Monday stirred Indonesian netizen sleuth to uncover the youth's social media post flaunting his lavish lifestyle. That's led to his mid-level taxman father being probed for the family's unexplained wealth. So there you go, if you were wondering. And talking about people having fun with headlines, coconuts.co and their Bangkok edition had a little bit of fun with this story in Pai during the week. We've seen a lot of these tubers heading down the Pai River. And they came up with Tuban tourists titillate Thai TikTok. Unfortunately, the word video didn't start with T as well, but they did their best with a bit of alliteration. Tuban tourists titillate Thai TikTok. And you don't want to say that too close to the microphone. And basically, there's some video of what was happening. You can see the tubers heading down there. It must be hundreds of them. And it's become a bit of a thing down the Pai River. People enjoying swimming in their swimsuits, floating down the Pai River, or in the case of those people who have got to the other side, picking up their tubes and running down the Pai River. And the nation, though, has also tried a little bit of alliteration. Didn't do very well, though. A river of tourists runs through it. And that's a bit of a play on A River Runs Through It, a movie about fishing from, I don't know, the late 1980s. But it didn't quite work, and I'm sure most of the readers, the nation, wouldn't understand A River of Tourists Runs Through It. But they did provide us with some bad news about exactly what's happened with this particular thing. So all these people having fun, of course, the fun police had to step in. Let's see what they said. Any lingering doubts about Thailand's tourism, says nationthailand.com, were washed away on Thursday when the meandering Pai River in Mae Hong Son became a traffic jam of floating foreigners. Now, I should say the Pai River and Pai generally are about 3 hours northwest of Chiang Mai, so right up there on the Burmese border in Mae Hong Son. TikTok user, captured the scene in a video clip showing hundreds of tourists happily log-jammed at the popular Pai attraction. Popular, and I would say it looks like everybody's going to be heading up there. It's going to become another backpacker attraction for people, and in coming months that's going to be something you're going to have to pay big dollars for, and there's going to be queues, and you're going to have to get tickets. But unfortunately, according to the nation, tipsy tubing on Pai River has been hit by an alcohol ban. It says the Tourism Authority of Thailand has had to enforce safety regulations drafted last year, and also to protect visitors from price gouging and shoddy services. Just wondering what situation the TAT, they're really just a tourism advisory board. I'm not sure if they can enact laws, but that's what the story says. And it says operators are now required to prohibit tubers from drinking alcohol while tubing down the river. So the fun police at it again. And so for those people that want to go and enjoy floating on a black tyre tube down a fairly warm and dirty river, then you can't take a drink with you anymore. Let's see what people have got to say as we return to our comment section. Thanks to everybody that are joining us on a Sunday. And this is our couch edition, so please come and join me on the couch and just put your feet up and relax. Currently about 27 minutes past 9 in the morning here. And I just got to scroll down. Hello from South Carolina, says Chad. Oh, I seem to have. I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to go out of that. I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to reset the stream. I'm thinking the stream's either stopped or everybody's just got up and walked away and they're doing something else now. One or the other. Skip the ad. Okay, so yes, I was right. People have been sending messages, but I haven't seen them. Here's a question from Antoine. Tim, you would organise a show on solar systems in Thailand. I'm happy to share my solar experience in Bang Sarai. I'd actually be very interested to do a show about using solar power in Thailand. Given that Thailand has plenty of sunshine, it doesn't have as much sunshine as some places, because usually when it's hot, it's also got quite a lot of high cloud, especially in some of the southern areas which are more humid. So I'm not exactly sure how efficient solar energy is in Thailand. I'd be very interested to know, so I might take you up on that. And as Nongwa Su says, pie. Spelt differently, Nongwa So. Good morning, Tim from the UK, says Simon Marsh. And what else do we have? Ben Hayes, every day can be Wednesday or Saturday in Swansea. Good morning, Tim from Penang, one of my favourite little islands around the area, Penang. Going to start work soon, but still going to listen to your stream. Thank you, Albert. Penang, interesting place. In the early days of sort of jet travel, 60s, 70s, maybe a bit into the 80s, Penang was a bit of a go-to place. It was seen as the place you'd go if you wanted to experience a little bit of exotic Asia. And then it dropped off the map for whatever reason. Places like Phuket and Bali started becoming more popular. And I think the backpacker crowd started travelling more, and they didn't seem to want to go to Penang. So Penang's morphed a bit from being a tourist area to being a popular expat haunt. It's got a great foodie scene in Georgetown, and it's also got quite a big IT sector. Some 500,000 people there working in the IT sector. So quite a few dimensions to Penang these days, which is, I don't know how far it would be. About 600 kilometres south, or would it be that far? Yeah, probably. 600 kilometres south of Phuket. And you've got Langkawi about 2/3 of the way on that particular trip. It takes about 45 minutes to fly there in a Airbus A320, because I've done the trip from Phuket Airport to Penang Airport quite a few times. Anyway, Albert, be interested to know more about your life in Penang, whether you're working there, or you say you're working, and what life is like for you in Penang. I've always said if I was kicked out of Thailand, I would probably go and live in Penang. So that's sort of my go-to area if something horrific happens in Thailand and I have to leave. Hi from Swansea in the UK. And yeah, my stream seems to be starting and stopping. I'm not sure if that's me or if it's something I've done. Yeah, I do seem to have problems with my stream. Fried Chicken says, I'm planning to open a restaurant next year. Any suggestions on doing business there? I've spent the last 10 years in Hong Kong. Oh dear, I wouldn't be the person to ask about starting a restaurant. I think you've just got to be careful about doing anything that the Thais do, because you might be stepping on toes. I'd get a lot of advice. I'd try and engage a lawyer who may have an expertise in starting businesses in Thailand. Obviously, choosing the area will be very important. If you choose a tourist area, you'll be, well, a prisoner to the ups and downs of the tourist arrivals and where those people are arriving from, and if they want to eat the food that you're making. So I think there'd be plenty of questions to ask. Probably the best thing to do would be to come to Thailand with the idea of doing some investigation and some research, visiting some different areas of the country and seeing what you think would be interesting place to work, and speak to some locals, maybe speak to some restaurateurs and get a good lawyer in tow and see if you can make headway on that. But I do know plenty of foreigners who run restaurants in Thailand, and some of them doing particularly well. So for those people who do research it, do take the plunge, take a risk. Some of them do very well. Plenty don't, and you don't want to be part of that list. Go do the research. Insult investor. That's why you're called insult investor. No need to be flinging mud, people asking innocent questions. Brian, I wonder how many tyre tubers end up with infections from the water. I'm not really sure about the quality of the water in Pi, but yes, Frank says the chat is a bit flaky. I'm having problems with the chat as well. Anyway, I'm not sure about the quality of the Pi River, but I'm sure it's largely clean. You're probably not going to get infections from there, but maybe have a bit of a dip a toe in the water of the Pi River before you jump in your tube. Probably be a bit more worried about what people have been rubbing on those tubes and what they've been doing whilst in those tubes, if you know what I mean. Dana Reese, question, what's the status of the elephant auction? We're in Phuket, by the way. Okay, well, as I announced yesterday, we closed up the auction last week, and Sam from Seeds of Change now has the spreadsheet with all the bids in it, and I'm sure she'll be contacting people in the next few days. So let's see what happens with that. But she certainly has the spreadsheet in hand, but I understand that she's been in Bangkok for 2 or 3 days. But the auction was closed Friday last week, and I believe when I tallied it up, we'd raised some 149,000 baht, which will all go, every single baht, to Seeds of Change, which is based on Koh Saray, Phuket. You're on the TNT program, our live program on Sunday morning, and great to have you with us as we sort of go through. Okay, I understand, Insult Investor, you weren't talking to me. My stream, sort of when I load it up, it loads up the questions, but it doesn't continue. So we seem to have some, it might be just me having a glitch. I'm sure it's not a problem for you. Okay, thank you, says Dana, my pleasure. The Bureau Asia says, morning from Saigon, Tim. Was in Bangkok last week and was struck by how the street food scene has changed over the past 5 years. On the upside, was very impressed on how clean the city was and how quiet. Well, the Bureau Asia, thank you very much. I would say, depending on which part of Bangkok you're in, and on the day of the week to a certain extent, and what's sort of happening in regards to holidays, it could be very busy or not. Mostly Bangkok, I think, is sort of pretty much back to normal. Number of tourists is down a little bit, but it's probably about half the number of tourists we had looking back to 2019. Now, when you say that the street food scene has changed, I don't know if you think there's more street food or less, but I think there's been quite a push by the Bangkok Metropolitan Authority, the BMA, to clean up the street food scene and try and stop street food vendors from blocking pathways and stuff. But there's still plenty of street food around Bangkok, there's no question, and a lot of Bangkokians making their way to work do enjoy grabbing some street food on their way to grab whatever public transport. So it seems to be a very vibrant scene, the street food scene, and I hope that continues, because it's certainly one of those things that make Bangkok a memorable city. And this is our live stream, and I am having problems having to continually reload the stream to get the questions. Chris Roberts, not sure what bats in the roof is. Some interesting news out of Hong Kong. A model killed and cooked up in a soup by an ex-lover. Did you come across the story? Fried chicken, I did. I decided it's nothing necessarily to do with Thailand, although everywhere I looked this morning, the South China Morning Post, Straits Times, Jakarta Post, Bangkok Post, all covering that story. But I decided that wasn't really a story for TNT, although those sort of stories do titillate the readers, and I'm sure that it'll be well covered in media around the world. Okay, so I think that is pretty much it. I don't think I've got any more stories to share with you today. Let's just see if I had any more. This was actually interesting. Maybe it's referring to question. How much a year do you pay for health insurance? Good question, Peter. So before I get on to this final story here, how much a year do I pay for health insurance? Okay, so you can get health insurance from here to here. My health insurance, I suppose you'd call sort of middle of the road. So it doesn't cover outpatients, it only covers inpatients. So if I have to go in there and stay for a few days, have an operation that I have to stay in overnight, that's an inpatient. So it doesn't cover outpatients. So if I go in there for I've got a flu and I want some medication, that's an outpatient visit. Just go to a clinic. Those sort of services are very cheap anyway. So I'm in that middle range. It basically covers me for everything, everything serious, getting scraped off the road if I'm in an accident, taken to a private hospital, and I pay 45,000 baht per year. Now I'm 64. I've been paying that for the past 6 years. The premium hasn't increased at all. I also haven't made any claims on it. I suppose that's why the premium hasn't increased. But it's also an insurance package that will cover me for life. And it's important if you want to stay in Thailand or retire here for the rest of your life, that you get one of these health insurance packages that cover you for life, because many of them will finish when you're either 70 or 75, depending on the insurance company. So make sure you ask lots of questions when looking at the insurance package. There's a lot of fine print, there's a lot of details, and there are sometimes a lot of exemptions. So you do need to go over the particular health insurance package very, very carefully. I'm not going to suggest any particular companies, but it would be incumbent upon you to do some good research. But if you're intending to stay here, then you need one of those insurance packages for life. But I pay 45,000 baht. So to this story, as I click on here and then click on this, and I thought this was quite interesting. It says, wither India as it becomes the world's most populous nation. And come April, India is expected to displace China as the world's most populated country. And so let's have a look at a few more details of this. In India, around 23 million babies were born last year, far outstripping births in any other country. Now compare that to China, when only 9.5 million births were registered for 2022. So 2 and a bit times the number of children born in India last year when compared to China. On January the 17th this year, it announced, this is China, announced a drop in total population for the first time in 6 decades by some 850,000 people. So the Chinese population now 1.411 billion people, very close to India's 1.38 billion, according to different estimates. And so it could be that India's population has already surpassed China's. But certainly, as far as the World Health Organization is concerned, they believe officially the numbers in India, the population will outstrip China by April this year. And let's see, it says that India has the world's largest youth population. 1 in 5 people aged under 25 live in the country. That's 650 million young people, or 47% of the South Asian nation's population. So I thought that was an interesting statistic for the region. And, last year, the most numerous number of people coming into Thailand, given that last year was a year of opening up. The borders really only opened up in January last year, and it was mostly people crossing over the border from Malaysia. And then a few Malaysian tourists, and then the Indian people started coming back after their restrictions were lifted. And up even now, Indians are a very, very large number of tourists coming into the country, outstripped currently by Russians almost 3 to 1. But obviously the situation with Russians coming to Thailand is not just tourist-based, but it's also based around the conflict that continues between Russia and Ukraine. So that's a bit of a blip on the radar. I'm not sure how long that number of Russians arriving in Thailand is going to continue, but Indians have really been the strongest tourism force over the past year. And it's not silly for Thailand to hitch itself to the Indian tourist train, because it is only 3, 4, 5 hours flight away, and by April this year will be the highest number of people and the fastest rising middle class in the world. And then, of course, we've got the Chinese, some 5, 6, 7 hour flight from Thailand, with the second largest population in the world. And so obviously those two countries are going to be contributing a large number of tourists into the country. Let's see if my chat is behaving itself. No, it's not, so I'll just have to refresh it and get the latest questions and comments. And sorry about the problems I seem to be having. Now I'm getting ads there as well. Here we go, I'm getting ads in the chat. So things not operating the way that they're meant to be operating today. Good morning, says Frank in Thailand. I think we've already got you. 21 degrees so far in Non-Y, going to be a top of 28. That's the amount of Leos to drink. Good luck to you. Clive Baxter says, just checked. TG to UK, horrendous prices, says Clive Baxter. So this has been another thing about the price gouging of airlines in Thailand. Let's just do a quick check about... so we've had an office in Phuket warning the airlines to stop price gouging when it comes to the cost of airfares from Bangkok to Phuket. Thought I might just do a quick experiment here and check on exactly what's happening. Let's just go. Oh, I've got so many screens going on here at the moment, I don't know what's happening. Here we go. So this is the Thai Vietjet booking platform, and Thai Vietjet is one of the cheapest, always been one of the cheapest ways to get from Bangkok to Phuket and back. I used them almost exclusively during the time I was living up in Bangkok for some 2 and a bit years, and I found them just routinely the cheapest. And as far as I'm concerned, they were the most reliable. I think in 2.5 years, I had one late flight. By late, I'm meaning like 3 or 4 hours. Had a few, 20, 30 minutes. That doesn't really bother me. But I only had one really delayed flight. Anyway, let's do some checking here. So Bangkok, we need to go to Phuket. We want to fly one way. Let's pick this is Thursday, the 2nd of March I've selected, and do a quick search and see what the cost is. Now, there you go. The cheapest flights you can get are 2,000 baht, and for full fare, you're paying nearly 9,000 baht. Now, that's an improvement from last week when some of the cheapest fares were about 7,000 baht. But even at 2,000 baht being the cheapest if you want to fly at 7 in the morning, otherwise, you're going to be up for about 2,300 baht. I used to pay between 800 and 1,100 baht. That was what I was paying for my one-way fare to Bangkok or back. 800 to 1,100, it was like that for nearly 2 years. So this is a bit of a surprise that even now, late February, we've got such high prices. Let's check on a few other days. So this is the day after, so up to 2,900 baht. Let's check the 4th of March. And the price is 4,500 baht. You can get it one down as low as 2,300 later in the day. Let's skip to the 6th of March. So we're a few weeks ahead now. And the cheapest there you can get is 2,000 baht a few days later. This is the 9th of March. And they're starting to drop a bit. We can get a fare as low as 1,800 baht. So just a quick comparison there that shows that the airfares are more expensive than they have been. There seemed to be a period of 3 or 4 weeks when they were literally horrendous. But if you do have a good look and you keep on spending some time looking at some variations or different routes to get to where you're going, you can still find a cheaper fare. But even the cheapest fares are much more expensive than they used to be. And I'm sure if I check with the other airlines flying from Phuket to Bangkok, they're all going to be around about those sort of prices. The lowest price you can get at the moment being around about 2,000 baht over the next week. That's more than I've been paying in the past, and probably would, if I was just going up there for pleasure, would make me probably wait a couple of weeks and try and find a cheaper fare. So the situation with airfares, and be interesting to see what you have to say about your experiences looking for airfares and your experiences of getting around Thailand with the current airlines. I've certainly noticed to be much more expensive than it has been. For those people flying into Thailand, certainly the airfares, the long-haul fares, some of them up to 2 or 3 times what they were pre-COVID. Ben Hayes, Ken RQ, that Pattaya news channel mentions tax on YouTubers every few months but never gives any update. I'm not sure, I've missed that particular discussion. Gemland says, I lost 140,000 baht, I'm assuming, on a set of Chinese solar lipo, lithium something. Never again will I buy Chinese tech. Is it the problem that they're built in China, or the people you bought them from, or did you try and import them from China? So just try and find out exactly who is the problem. And I'm sorry that you had a problem losing 140,000 baht on buying some solar equipment. I use truck batteries for my solar. Works great, says the insult investor. This is, I think, what we need to find out. What workarounds people are using for some of this new technology, which technology seems to be working the best, which areas in Thailand seem to be having the most sunshine. That would be an interesting question on in itself. And like a place like Chiang Mai probably has lots of sunshine, but it also has this smoke during the burning season. So I'm sure that cuts down the infiltration of the sun to your solar panel. Somebody's saying airfares are around about 4 times what they used to be, and the situation clearly is quite lumpy. Some airfares much higher in some places than others. We've had an appearance by Dina the cat, who may or may not grace us with her presence. Looks like she's coming to say hello. If I grab her, she'll run. Sorry about filling the chat with replies, but you might want to check to see where they make some of those car batteries. That may change in the future, but they use slave labour. Look, insult investor, this is interesting, this issue about batteries. And I did a lot of research checking where the car batteries are being made. And this new technology is quite a different situation from some of the older technology. I acknowledge that there were problems with some of the sourcing of materials for electric battery parts, but the situation has changed. There has been quite a big reaction, and I'm quite happy with the way that BYD source the parts for their batteries and the technology they use with their Blade electric vehicle batteries. But look, an interesting point, but I think a lot of us sort of think 10 years ago about how these batteries were being made, and a lot has changed since then. So I've done my research well, and I'm quite happy with the information I've found. Of course, if you want to find bad information that gives you a result that you're looking for, you certainly will always find it. Peter Barb, thanks Tim for the info, much appreciated. What insurance company are you with? I'm not going to say, because I don't want people to then go to that insurance company and have a bad experience. So I'm very careful about who I recommend. And I've made some mistakes in the past. I've recommended people go to particular visa agents or insurance companies, and those people have had a bad experience, and that reflects poorly on me. So I'm very careful about who I recommend. Plenty of companies out there who get commissions from recommending insurance people and visa agents. But it's probably not a track that I'm going to go down, because when things go bad for those people, it really reflects badly on where they got that original information. Indian mothers demand all their children marry and have 2 to 5 babies, says Ben Hayes. Again, I'm not sure if that's a cultural stereotype. I'm not sure if it's all mothers. Might be a bit surprised going to India. Things have changed a bit over the years. Hi, sir. How about a show? This is from Ty Bob. I don't think anybody's ever called me sir. Dina, do you want to come and say hello? Dina, you just want to sit there and have a wash. Okay. How about a show on what insurance and different types of coverage an expat can receive for their retirement visa? Yeah, I think we could probably do that in broad terms. Maybe they can set up a kickback on your show. I'm not interested in kickbacks. I'm sure it's not cheap to do. So, look, if an insurance company were to advertise with me, then I would take their money and let them advertise. That's a commercial arrangement. Getting kickbacks is a different matter. It takes a lot of administration and also involves a lot of trust from both the company providing the service and me trying to get the money out of them when my customers have gone to them for that service. But I think, look, it's a great point. I do know a couple of really good insurance brokers who are not tied to just one source for their insurance. So maybe I'll try and get one of them along to come and answer your questions. In fact, I know exactly who I'm going to get. But good idea. Thank you for that. A question from Ken RQ. Have you talked about the potential taxing of YouTubers in Thailand yet by the Thai tax department? Yes, I've heard plenty about this, and obviously I've done my own research because guess what? I'm a YouTuber in Thailand. Now, I pay my tax to the American government. YouTube or Google, it's owned by Google, pay me an amount each month, but they subtract or withhold tax that I pay to the American government. So I'm not sure if the Thai government are then going to tax me again. So this is something that I'm interested to find out when the actual fine print is released. At the moment, there is no fine print on the matter. But if people are working in Thailand, living in Thailand, registered as with a residential address in Thailand, and get paid from overseas without any withholding tax from the government where that money's coming from, then I imagine they will have to pay tax here in Thailand. I'm not a taxation expert, but I think that YouTubers, like anybody else, should pay tax on their profits. Mind you, I would say there would be a small, maybe not small, but maybe not more than a handful of YouTubers who would be making a working living or making a killing out of YouTube. It's not easy to, I mean, I certainly don't make a living wage out of my work on YouTube. I do 6-7 programs a week. So, yeah, I can't make a living wage out of YouTube. Maybe that might happen one day. So, not that money really made by YouTubers, a lot less than you might think. So if you're trying to sort of get the Thai government to punish YouTubers and tax them, then you might be surprised by how little they actually make. But I'm following that story, and if I find out any more, I'll pass it on. But I haven't heard much more about that. But there seem to be a lot of YouTubers in Pattaya, all sort of scrambling for the same viewers. And from my point of view, all seem to be talking about the same things. But there seem to be a lot of YouTubers in Pattaya for whatever reason. I'd be interested to know if people have a theory on why that is. Aeroflot available. Yes, you can get flights on Aeroflot if you want to fly to Russia at the moment out of Thailand. Aeroflot planes coming into the country every single day. There will probably be around about 17 or 18 flights. And we've got Dina here. Do you want to come and say hello to everybody? This is the youngest of our two cats, and never very happy sitting in the lap. Bit of an action cat, but a very pretty little cat. And she's very good at catching snakes, rats, mice. It's very handy to have around the house and costs me all of a handful of cat food each day. And sometimes comes up and keeps me company in the bed at night. Well, on the bed, not in the bed. Okay, let's go down to some other comments here. Thanks for keeping the air clean, Frank. Approximately 4 times what it used to be. Just rebooting the comments section, which seems to be acting up on my computer today. Right. Hi, Tim. COVID kicked off YouTubers. It will soon flatten out. So a bit of a theory there that... okay, so yeah, when COVID happened, people were stuck at home and they had nothing else to do, so they started YouTubing. It sort of launched the Tiger YouTube channel as well, when I was sitting down in my living room on the floor with the cats and the crazy shirts and doing the daily news. That really kicked off that particular channel. We're getting 50, 60,000 views a day watching me talking about Thai news and sitting on the floor as I was locked up. We were locked up for about 6 weeks. Had 6 weeks of food in the refrigerator. I was happy as Larry. Although it wasn't good, of course, if you were running a Thai business that required people to walk past your shop and buy something. 17,500 subscribers. Thank you, Alpha Bravo, for keeping me informed. Subscribers have slowed down the last couple of months. In fact, it's been a pretty hard month for getting views generally. But I've noticed this sort of around... There aren't any big, sort of hunky, juicy stories at the moment in Thailand. The election might change that. And there will be plenty of information coming out before the election. Some of it will be of interest to you as well, and I'll bring that to you. But yeah, it's been I suppose you could say, a slow news month. Always interesting things happening, but not the big ticket items. All you need is the Thai government to say, well, we're not allowing tourists to come to Thailand, or all tourists are going to have to pay a 1,000 baht arrival tax. Suddenly the views just go crazy. By the way, that's not news. Tim, you know exactly why there are plenty of YouTubers in Sin City, says Kino Shinobi. No, I don't know exactly. Why are there lots and lots of YouTubers? I'm talking about the expat YouTubers and the tourist YouTubers. I'm not talking about the lady YouTubers who might be using that as an alternative source of income. ... But beyond that, I'm not sure why there are so many expat and tourism YouTubers in Pattaya. Question: if you pay tax to the US government, does that mean you have to file a tax return? Interesting question, Rachel. I might have to, if I wanted to get a return, get tax money returned to me, but I probably would have very few deductions as such. So it's probably money that's lost to the United States government. But when I form a company in Thailand, and that might be something I'll have to do in the future, as I've sort of got a few new business things starting up over the next few months, a lot of them concerning retirement in the country. But if I'll need probably to have a proper company formed to make that happen. Money's going to start rolling in. I'll need to pay tax here in Thailand, and I need that company structure as something that I can register various services. So, and then I'll be paying tax here in Thailand. At that stage, then YouTube says, well, you don't have to pay tax to the US government. You can get the full amount from us, and we'll let the Thai tax department deduct tax from you. That's the way that I see it. Good morning. How's your cup of tea? Had a late night. I don't have a cup of tea. I've only got a glass of water. Just understanding these weekend shows, just a take on a life of their own. I sort of get a bit organised to get 3 or 4 stories ready, and it just all goes to shit because you want to talk about different things, which is fine. Frank in Thailand, any other people having problems with couriers? That is that they're just running too low in drivers, so parcels are delayed for a week or more. Well, look, I get a delivery every other day, and I had my pool pump. The pump on my swimming pool blew up for whatever reason. When I say blew up, it just stopped working this week. And I jumped onto Lazada, and it arrived 2 days later, and it came out of Bangkok. Now, I've ordered a lot of other things, curtains, bedding, a bed, some chairs, and they all seem to arrive 2 or 3 days after I order them. So I haven't noticed any particular delays. It might be a local situation, Frank, but as far as I'm concerned, I'm finding the online shopping still very good, very easy, and still very reliable as far as couriers are concerned. I get all sorts of couriers. Some of them are like grab bikes. Some of them are a ute. Some are like a utility vehicle. Some of them are trucks. Some just motorbikes from Kerry Express. So I get all sorts of different couriers arriving. Some of them with an IKEA logo branded down the side. So obviously getting delivered to the IKEA shop here in Phuket and then sent out by their own truck. So there you go. Gemland says, you roll the dice with Chinese tech. Often it's great, but when they need the cash, they will screw you. Eve sold me D-grade batteries for the price of A-grade factory direct. Eve, is that the name of the company? I don't know. Well, I mean, I use a lot of Chinese-made tech. My iPad, my laptop, my iPhone, they were all manufactured in China. But look, I suppose with just about anything else you need to buyer beware. Just check on reviews, check on the source, do your homework before you spend any large amount of money. And I suppose that's something that should happen with anything that you're spending a lot of money on. Air and Steve's Thailand Adventure says, I'm making a channel purely for my family to look at when we come out in March for 6 months. It will always be there for us to look at. Isn't that a great idea? Sort of the new Facebook. To do it on YouTube, and obviously you're going to have videos that you can share with your friends. You can make it private, you can make it public. If you get enough views, you can then monetize it. So good luck to Air and Steve's Thailand Adventures. Hope you do well, and maybe one day we'll see you on YouTube. And Chris Macon, I'll just do a couple more questions, says, are there any good beaches on Penang? I always wanted to go there, but I couldn't find much on the beaches. Ended up going to Tioman Island instead when I did Malaysia, which was a joy. Isn't Tioman Island the island they shot some of the movie South Pacific on back in the 1950s? I sort of remember Tioman Island. I haven't been there, but apparently very beautiful. I think Penang's got 2 or 3 beaches. I think it's called Ferengi Beach. There is so much potential for Penang. If they did what they've done in Pattaya and spend zillions on reclaiming beaches and making man-made beaches, they can make Penang really a tropical paradise. The weather's great, the food's great, cost of living down. There's many, many great things about Penang, but its beaches are not good, and only the couple of beaches they do have are not what you would call anywhere near the quality of beaches in Thailand. But if they wanted to, they could spend a little bit of money and make some great beaches. The technology's there these days. They've certainly done it up in Pattaya. They've got those enormously wide man-made beaches. I sometimes worry about the quality of the actual sand that you're stepping on. A lot of it tends to be very gritty, a lot of seashells in it, because it's all been pumped in from offshore. But the technology's there to make beaches these days. Why they don't, I don't know. But a good question from Chris there. And with that, I think we've come to some sort of end. Mr. Wonderful, do you know of Brian Burletic? He's former military and very informative on geopolitics. Never heard of him. Mr. Wonderful, I'm sure he's a wonderful person, and I don't know of him. But I'm just sort of reading between the lines that he might be pushing some sort of geopolitical narrative. I might be wrong. I'll do a quick check after the show, but thank you for your contribution. Did Natty say hello? I don't know what you mean, Alpha Bravo. We're talking about Natty from Bangkok. I'm assuming, did she say hello during this show? I don't know. I haven't seen. But if she did, I missed it, and I'm sorry. Hello back to Natty. We've had Jet down during the week. He's been at a bachelor party over the last 2 or 3 days, and I've seen all sorts of videos that he's posted. Some of them were even mildly in focus, so I think they've had a pretty good time. It was great catching up with Jet. Thank you all very much for watching today. Sorry it's been a bit ramshackle. Maybe doing it on the couch isn't the best idea. I'll be back at the desk tomorrow. We do TNT 5 days a week, about a 15-minute show, and we cover all the main topics from around Thailand and the region every day and try and analyse sort of the stories behind the headlines. Sometimes the headlines and the stories are simply not accurate or just outright wrong, and I'll point out problems when I see them. Hopefully I get it right. That's what I'm here to do, and that's what I sort of nail onto the top of my CV. So I'll continue to do that. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to the channel, because more than anything else, that helps with the YouTube algorithm, that black box that we're all trying to figure out how to get more people watching our YouTube channels. It's quite an interesting thing for an old guy like me to be dabbling in at my age, but I'm certainly enjoying it. I am very respectful and grateful for you and you watching, and hopefully I can continue to bring you good, accurate information in the future. Have a great Sunday. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. I look forward to seeing you again at the news desk tomorrow. But for now, thank you. Have a great Sunday.